Welcome to Dose of Social, your recipe for social media success. I'm Lindsay Mauk.
I'm Kayla Pearlstein.
And this is
Dose of
Social.
We are super excited to have Julia Fowler here today. She is the creator of Southern Women Channel, and she is also one of my amazing clients. Fun story, Julia, which I don't think I even told you this, but Lindsay was actually in town filming with me when I was putting up one of your videos, and she heard you. And she said, "Who is that?" I said, "That's one of my clients." And she was like, "Oh my gosh, we have to have her on the podcast."
I was like, we have to have her on the podcast.
She's her video.
And so here we are. So Julia, thank you for joining us today. We would love for you to kind of introduce yourself, give our listeners a little bit of your background, and then we'll get into everything.
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you, ladies, so much for having me. It's so sweet of you to ask. I'm always honored when anybody cares to spend any amount of time with me. So thank you. Who am I? Well, my name's Julia. And for all the trolls out there who think I'm making fun of Southern people, I'm not. I'm really from the South. I was born and raised in Gaffney, South Carolina. And I graduated from the University of South Carolina. And then life took me far away from my beloved South. I lived in New York City for almost a decade. I worked on Broadway and in musical theater and national tours. And then I met a man. These things happen. And he convinced me to move to Los Angeles. He is a film and TV producer. So I seemed like a good idea. So I moved to LA and I was in Los Angeles for 23 years. The good news about moving to LA is it really opened up sort of my career in a different way. I think I only ever wanted to be on Broadway. That was my whole thing since I was a kid. And it never occurred to me to, work in television and film. It never occurred to me to write. But I started doing all of that in Los Angeles. It's a city in which you have to hustle to survive. And, I had a really exciting career there. But despite that career, I was very, very homesick for the South. And I lost a lot of acting jobs. Along the way, I'd get really close to big jobs and then they would say, well, we can still hear your Southern accent. And I'd be like, but I spent a fortune working with the dialect coach. How can you still hear it? And I found that I had there were several other actresses that I was friends with that were originally from the South that were out there in LA and they were having the same experience. And then the funny thing is we would run into each other auditioning for Southern things, projects like The Help or I remember when GCB came out. And we were all auditioning and we couldn't even get the jobs. They mostly hire people that aren't even from the South, which we thought was hysterical. But I was really just homesick for the South. And so I decided there was this new thing called YouTube. And it was back in 2012 and it was relatively new. It was before social media, before influencers, before any of that nonsense. And somebody sent me a video called Stuff People in LA Say. And I thought it was so funny because if you've lived in LA, you understood the humor, stuff like I love kale and, I'm going to take the 405 to the 101 to the 110 to the 210 to the, stuff like that. And I just thought it was really funny. And when I got to investigating online, I realized that was like a whole meme, that this stuff people say was a meme. And nobody had done anything from the South. And I thought that is crazy because we say the funniest stuff ever. And so I made a video and I didn't really mean to start a YouTube channel. I didn't really mean to start a brand. I didn't mean to do anything except make one video that I thought would be funny. And I pulled in my best friends who were actresses, except my friend Sheila there, who was actually a producer. She had never acted before. I just made her do it because she's got one of the funniest Southern accents ever. And I made this video. It took me a while to put it out. And then somebody was like, we have to name your YouTube channel because I had somebody helping me upload. I didn't even understand YouTube. I was like, what do you mean I have to name it? They were like, you have to have a name. I was like, but I'm just putting up one video. They were like, you have to have a name. I was like, okay, Southern Women Channel. Like, I didn't even think about it. You know, most people would think about their brand. Not me. No, whatever came out. And I put up one video and I honestly thought, that's it. I'll have one video, you know, my friends and family back home will laugh. Maybe I'll find a little community online that'll make me feel a little bit less homesick. And the Southern Women Channel was born. That video went viral. And we've been making videos since 2012. I still treat it as a hobby, as Kayla knows, because my darling Kayla, who I found, is my social media gal. So, you know, she has, you know, said to me, sweetie, you know, you need to be you know, doing more things. But, you know, we all have jobs. None of us really meant to fall into this. So at the end of the day, I'm an actress. I'm a author. I am a film and TV writer, and I am a YouTuber.
Yeah, Julia was the OG YouTube. She started it a very long time ago.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's great.
yeah, and truthfully, it's funny that you say that, Kayla, because I was just talking to another influencer this morning about who called me about something else. And they were like, you realize you were the OG Southerner on the internet? I was like, yes, I do. I was like, nobody was talking about the South or celebrating the South or celebrating Southern culture the same way I was at the time. Now a lot of people are, which is fun to see. You know, it is a subculture worth celebrating. But yeah, I've been doing this a long time.
That's so great. It sounds like you had instant success and you found an audience right away, which is so wonderful to hear, that it just kind of went from there. That's very cool. Was there a specific moment when you realized, like, with that first video, like, wow, people are connecting with this, we should do this more often? Because you mentioned that you only had the intentions to do one video to start.
Yes. Well, you know, what happened, the funny thing is, you know, this was before everybody was filming with their iPhones. I filmed this on a camera, like a camera that I rented from Sammy's Camera in LA. And I rented it, and then I just shot at my friend Delaine's house, who's in the videos because she has a gorgeous home. And I shot in some other friends' homes in LA because, you know, I lived in Venice Beach, and it just didn't lend itself to the South. I was cheating the South in Los Angeles. So I had to find, you know, ways to do that, creative ways to do that. So you know, we shot this thing, and then it took me a long time to edit it because I wasn't really in a hurry. Like I said, it was just something I was doing as like a little side hobby. So when I finally loaded it and put it up, I launched it on Halloween 2012. So if you think about that strategically now, like the dumbest time ever to launch a video because no one's at home. Everyone's out with their kids, trick or treating. Everyone has parties. Like it doesn't make any marketing sense at all. But I didn't know any better. I had finished editing it. So I was like, there we go. It's time to put it up. Then I went to dinner. To your question, Lindsay, I've not forgotten you, Southerners. We are very tangential. Sorry.
I love it. No, I love it. Keep going.
Very tangential. Sorry. But so I went to dinner with my family, my husband's family, and we're at dinner, and one of the girls in the video, Catherine, she starts texting me, and she was like, Julia, this video's got like 50,000 views. It's only been up for like 2 hours. And I was like, hey, that's pretty good. I mean, somebody's looking. I don't know 50,000 people. So somebody's watching besides my friends, you know. And then, you know, a little bit further into dinner, you know, I get another text from one of the other girls. Oh my gosh, now it's got 100,000. Now it's got 200. And it just started clicking. By the time I got home, I realized something's happening, but I didn't really understand what. You know, I was in my early 40s and I was just like, I just wasn't social media savvy. I wasn't YouTube savvy. I really had only worked in linear film and television. Um, I knew something was happening, but I wasn't sure what. It was the next morning after, so whatever the next, November 1st. There you go. I'm like, what's the day after? November
Christmas,
1st.
Christmas.
Like Christmas. Right? So November 1st, I woke up and it had so many views. It was insane. Almost 1 million views already. And that was in like 24 hours. And Catherine called me, and she's younger. Catherine's much younger than I am. And she called me and said, Julia, we are on the YouTube homepage. And I was like, what does that mean? She was like, it means we're going viral. I was like, oh, what does that mean? She was like, Julia, this is what we want. We want to go viral. I was like, does this mean we're going to be web celebrities? She was like, oh my God, I'm going to kill you. Meanwhile, Catherine was on a television show at the time. So being a web celebrity was like of little concern to her, but she got so excited by it because it was so unexpected. And at the time, the meme wasn't brand new. It was kind of like we were piggybacking on a meme kind of late in the game. And she had originally said to me, Julie, this meme's kind of old. I said, I know, but it's funny. And what do I care? So it ended up, going viral. We got a lot of phone calls from newspapers. The Today Show called. They featured us on their, program. I remember I was teaching Pilates in LA while I was on the Today Show. I couldn't even watch it live because I was like hustling in my LA job. And I was like, this is crazy. But after that, my manager called me after that, all that sort of hoopla of that first week of it going viral. My manager called and she said, I really think you need to focus on this. I know it's not something that was really in your, vision of your career, but you've struck a note with somebody, and I think you should pay attention to it. I think that the future of entertainment is going to maybe be going this way. Maybe lean into this a little bit. So I just started making more videos. I called the girls, and I still have to call the girls and be like, y'all want to make another one? Do you want to make another one? Because we're all just doing it for fun. None of us are making a living off of social media and YouTube. I suppose we could if we dedicated our full-time lives to it. But like I said, we've treated it more of as a hobby, and I think it's what's kept us from having creative burnout as well. We've just had a lot of fun.
And that was going to kind of lead into my next question, because your videos are so hilarious and relatable. How do you continue to come up with different ideas and bring in new people and not have that burnout?
Oh, Kayla, it's hard. I won't lie. It's hard. And I do think that the discipline that I have learned from working as a writer in film and TV, working as an actress in live theater, discipline that requires has been very good. It's helped. I've really been able to apply that discipline to YouTube and to social media. I'm very organized. I have huge lists of sayings. I have a Google Doc that's, oh gosh, hundreds of pages. And I just started it. When I first started with my first video, I just input my first script. I wrote that first script from beginning to end, and I shot it in order. Since then, I don't do the videos like that. I have ideas of a pre-edit in mind. And then I'm shooting in bulk. So I'll get together with the girls and I'll shoot in bulk, and then then I'll go back and design the videos. As far as ideas, I'm constantly adding to that master list of sayings. I hear things. I remember things. People write me and tell me things. Don't forget to use this one. It's a pretty interesting community that I've built. This internet community of fans, and they are supportive, and they love to contribute their ideas and contribute. My granny said this, and my mama always said that, and my favorite one's this. It's just like today, for example, the reel I have on social media today is just me on the street asking people, "What's your favorite Southern saying?" And everyone has one. Everyone has one in the South. So I would say that it's just a matter of organization for me, and it's a matter of doing things that bring me joy. I have been, a lot of times people approach me and like, "Oh, you should make a video and do this and do that." And I'm like, "That's a bunch of trouble. That's going to give me a headache. That's not going to bring me joy." And this is supposed to bring joy, not only to the audience, but to those of us doing it. And like I said, I think I've been able to strike that balance of joy versus burnout because I don't rely on the YouTube channel to be my sole source of income. I think when you do, and I have friends that do, you really have to hustle in a different way, the same way I'm hustling in my other jobs. So this for me is sort of a safe space. It's my creative playground. I write and pitch ideas to Hollywood. And so I am in the business of no, we can't do that. And we're not doing that in no way. And nobody will watch that. And that's too Southern. And I eat, breathe, and sleep no for a living. And it's fun to have YouTube because no one says no. You just do whatever you want to do. It doesn't always work, but it's fun to have that creative playground.
I love it. It sounds like because you don't have the pressure of making this your full-time career, you have that creative freedom to just really do whatever you want and enjoy it. So that's really
yeah. I don't have to, I'm sure if I wanted to, make it my full-time career, I could. And I might.
1,000%. Yes.
Right. I might. But at this point in my life, I'm still interested in other things. I'm still really into my acting career. I'm still really into my screenwriting career. And in order for me to have space in my life for that, I've had to keep the YouTube more as a back burner, like I said, more of a hobby than an earner.
Yep. And what does your content creation process look like? Like from ideation to the actual posting of the content? Like how does your process look from start to finish?
It's work. It's work. It's a lot of work. I don't think people realize just how much work it is. From a production standpoint, it's very complicated because I'm just going to talk about the Stuff Southern Women Say series for a second because that's the series that's the most popular on my channel. So I produce other series on my channel in a different way, but Stuff Southern Women Say is specifically complicated. I do not recommend this process to anyone. Let me tell you what not to do, okay?
Disclaimer.
Yes, not to do. Don't do it like film and TV because it's hard. I still shoot on cameras. I don't shoot on my iPhone. So I write everything. Like I said, I write, let's say that I know I'm going to do 3 more episodes of Stuff Southern Women Say. Let's say I'm going to do that, right? So I have to get enough material in the can to make 3 episodes. Each episode of Stuff Southern Women Say requires about 75 one-liners. Each of those one-liners requires a setup, which means a camera setup. So whether that's me and Sheila walking in the country, or Catherine sitting in her bed saying something funny, or us sitting around drinking wine at Delane talking about somebody, these are all setups, right? So each saying has to have a different setup because of the way in which I sort of made the first one, the first template. Like I said, I just thought I was making one. So I didn't understand that my template was complicated to replicate. So each one requires a setup. We do all of our own hair and makeup. Thank God we know how to do that because we're Southern women. We cannot afford hair and makeup people, and Lord knows that would take forever. As it is, I can barely get everybody dressed. Everybody brings their own wardrobe. Think about that. Okay. So I send everybody a script. Let's say we're going to shoot in multiple locations. I have to really roll up my producer sleeves. Now I have to produce where are my locations. I have to get all of my talent there on those days. Each of the days is a full day of shooting. So I might shoot like 2 or 3 weekends in a row. I tend to do weekends because I have a real job. My husband has a real job and he also helps me. And we might shoot 3 weekends in a row, or we might go to a location and shoot there for a solid week. You know what I'm saying? It just depends on everybody's schedule. So wrangling everybody's schedule is the number one most difficult part of it because everybody has their own lives. That's why I think content creators who are doing solo business are in a much better position because they're in control. I lack control of my creative because I'm reliant on, my pool of actors. So I have to work around their lives. I have to work around their schedules. I have to work around where everybody is in space. When we all started, we were all in Los Angeles. Now I live in South Carolina. I'm back home in my home state. Sheila's also in South Carolina, but in a different city. Catherine now lives in Nashville, and Delane still lives in Los Angeles, even though she's from New Orleans and she's often in New Orleans. So we're all over the place. So getting us all together to shoot is complicated. So that's a part of it. So I have to write it. Then I have to produce what locations and how am I getting everybody there? Then I always use a guest star for each of those episodes because I wanted, when we first did it, like I said, I just used my my 3 best friends. And then I realized that, I wanted to open it up to more fabulous Southern women, and I wanted to spotlight Southern women from different Southern states than we were from. I kind of wanted to be a little bit more inclusive. So at first, I just started asking other actresses in LA that I was friends with that were from the South, do you want to do it? Went to my friend Kim Kendall. She's from Alabama. You want to do it? Logan Browning was in the show with Kate, was in the TV show with Kat. So Logan and I became friendly through Kat. I was like, Logan's from Georgia. I was like, you want to do this for me? She was like, I'll do it for you. So you just sort of I just started asking people. Now I have to be a bit more strategic because of, we're all over the place. But I try to either ask Southern women who have an acting background. I have used people before that don't have an acting background. That's not always as successful comedically. But sometimes, I'm doing it for other reasons. Like, I want to maybe collab with their fans. I want my fans and their fans to sort of gel in some way. So then I shoot it all, right? So I have to cast it, write it, then I have to shoot it. And like I said, I'm shooting bulk. So I might shoot probably about 50 setups a day, most of which will require costume changes. Everybody brings their own wardrobe. I choose all the wardrobe. I choose all the combinations so we all look good together on camera. That can become more complicated than it feels because this girl wants to wear this, but I saved this to wear for this, but you're not wearing that for this, you're wearing that. Even though it's YouTube, it still feels a little bit like I'm dealing with Hollywood actresses. And then I get everything in the can, and then I come back home and I have to edit. And the edit is cumbersome because, I may have let's say I've shot 300 lines. Now I have to go in and organize those into a flow of 75 that flow in what I call the Southern spoken word. It's sort of this rhythm. And the rhythm is what makes the comedy funny. And I am very, very meticulous about the editing. It is extremely thoughtful. It is extremely intentional. And I will assure you that if I reverse things in another way, it's not funny. I'm building things. I'm doing runners. I'm doing repeats. All of this is in my mind. A lot of times I will have the girls film a line and they're like, I don't understand why that's funny. I'm like, because it goes with something else. You don't get it. It's in my head. So, the good news about editing the material and being the writer and being the director is that it's sort of all happening from the beginning process. Then I edit it all. And my husband helps me. God bless his soul. And we edit the big YouTube videos. And then I take those big YouTube videos and I work with my social media person, Kayla. And we put out a couple of reels a month, and I go in and I strip out segments from the big YouTube videos for the social media content. And I'm very intentional about what I am posting, when I am posting it. Some stuff we're posting that's really old, but people haven't seen it in a long time, or people are just now discovering me because they didn't originally watch my videos when they first came out. And so then once we put out the videos, and you have to market the videos, so I'm really plugging stuff on social media. I'm trying to, plug it to my YouTube audience, and it's endless amounts of work. I will tell you that. Super time consuming.
And I will say on top of that, where Julia is busy enough as she is, then I'll come to her with other ideas of videos we can do that are not as intensive of a setup, but it's still a lot of work. And especially when not everyone lives together, Julia has to still write everything. And then she sends it to the girls and asks them to send it by this deadline. And if the deadline's not made, then we have to wait or whatever it might be. And then she cuts it and puts it together. So,
oh yeah. Yeah. That's the other thing. I mean, people don't realize, I love these girls. I'm not saying I don't love these girls, but they are a handful. They are Southern women. They are a handful. Kayla will be like, oh, let's do this for, International Women's Day. Let's have everybody say something. I'm like, that's an excellent idea, Kayla. I love that idea. Do you have any idea how many hours of texting and emailing that is going to require? Not the filming. The filming takes 2 seconds. I can write it in an afternoon. My time is chasing these actresses. You got to film it for me, but I'm busy today. But you said you were going to send it to me. Yeah, but my baby got upset, and then my husband's not here, and then my hair didn't look good, and then oh my God, my child's got tennis, and then they have lives, and so they are not on my schedule all the time, which becomes maddening. They really. Someone said to me earlier, like, I love, does all the girls write? I'm like, honey, these girls are true actresses. They show up and they are fabulous when they get there. But I've done all the work for them to get there. So it's fun. We have a great time. I love them dearly. But like I said, I don't recommend to other content creators that you create a troupe of actors that are spread all over the universe.
Yeah.
Not ideal.
Otherwise, you'll have your social media manager coming to you and asking. I'm always like, Julia, can you do a video of this? And she's like, not this time.
Not this time. Sometimes, I'm into it. And it also depends, with Kayla. Like, Kayla has always got great ideas. But, sometimes it just depends on just my bandwidth. It's like, right now I'm in pre-production for a film and we're working on that. And it's a lot of moving parts. This movie's happening in June. It's, the train has left the station. So Kayla, I had to lecture Kayla. I was like, don't be coming to me with all these real ideas in the next few weeks. I was like, we're going to get that. Well, I'm going to edit ahead and get these reels, banked out for us. So right now it's not an ideal time for me to be doing new creative, but when that's done, I'll have more space and then I'll be really open to doing different kinds of creative. So, I'm really lucky that I have somebody like Kayla on my team that really understands sort of my goals and, my balance. She understands my balance.
Yeah, I mean, and what you're describing is a common a common thing between social media managers and their clients too, of like, hey, can you film this? Like, I don't have time to film this. Like, it's like, yes, the filming takes 2 seconds, but it's getting ready, preparing what you're going to say, like making sure you're in the right place, making sure the lighting's good, making sure your hair looks good. So all those things like go into it. So
Absolutely, Lindsay. And that's what I was saying about the girls. I'll say to the girls, I'm like, this takes 2 seconds. I have been waiting for 2 weeks for something. You got to send me one clip. It takes 2 seconds. And they're like, yeah, but every day, it's not the clip. I couldn't get my hair done. And then my nails weren't right. And then I didn't have time to do my makeup. And then I was going to do it, but then my son, and then, so it's just, it's a lot of work. I don't think people really realize how hard content creators work.
oh yeah,
really
absolutely.
hard job. It's all consuming, in fact.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then, speaking of balance, how do you balance the humor and respect when you're highlighting certain Southern traditions or stereotypes? Because we've seen lots of comments where people do think your accent is fake, or they'll say that Southern people don't talk like that, or they don't say that, or they've never heard that.
Yeah, those are my favorite people. I know. I'm like, really, y'all? Because here's what makes me laugh. I mean, just go to our website. You can read all about us. But nobody takes the time to do any research or to learn anything. The kind of people that are going to just say something negative on social media are the kind of people that are going to say something negative no matter what happens in life. That's just who they are. Luckily, I have rhinoceros skin because I have been in show business for 800,000 years. And trolls on the internet are the least of my concerns. I'm like, you are the least courageous person on the planet. It takes nothing to write a hateful comment, on a social media app. So they don't bother me. It kind of humors me. I guess if I wasn't really from the South, it would upset me, because I'd be like, oh, I'm found out, but I'm not caught because I am authentic. If you've read my books, it's all about authenticity. As far as making fun of the South versus laughing with the South, that is a very fine line. And it is something that I have focused my career on. When I moved to LA, I tried my hand at writing for the first time ever. I tried my hand at screenwriting. And the first script I wrote was a Southern comedy. And it's called a spec script. When you write a script and nobody's paid you, it hasn't been commissioned. It's called a spec script in Hollywood. So I wrote this spec screenplay. And the first spec screenplay I ever wrote, I sold to New Line Cinema. Now, it ultimately did not get made because they thought it was too Southern. It's too Southern, which was maddening. And one of the reasons that drove me to do the YouTube channel, to sort of prove that there is a massive audience for this kind of content and for this kind of voice, and that people really want to connect to their culture in entertainment. But the reason I didn't know when I started writing that I would write the way I talk. I had never tried my hand at writing like that before. But what came out was Southern. And what I found is I was going through the notes process with the studio, because you go through lots of drafts and lots of note processes with people who are not from the South whatsoever. And I found myself very protective of the South. And I realized I wasn't just protecting my fellow Southerner, I was protecting me. I was protecting my family. There's a certain amount of pride that comes from being a Southerner. I realized that there is a tone in which you can laugh with the South, and there is a tone in which you're laughing at the South. And it's fine line. And I pride myself on creating content that celebrates the South and is very tongue in cheek. And, when people will say things like, your accent's fake or whatever. I'm like, my accent might be different than your accent. The way people sound in the upstate of South Carolina, especially rural upstate South Carolina, where I grew up, is going to be different than you would sound in Savannah, Georgia. It's going to be different than you'd sound in New Orleans. It's going to be different than you'd sound in Tennessee. That's going to be a more nasal accent. I mean, me and Leanne Morgan don't sound exactly the same, but we're both Southern women. There are other Southerners who have worked real hard, and I've worked with those Southerners in Los Angeles who've worked really hard to disguise their Southern accent and lose it. And I think, what a shame for you, because you've lost your superpower. That's your superpower. It's what makes you unique. I think I have a good innate sense for what feels the wrong tone. You know what I'm saying? When I feel like, yeah, that's too derogatory, or that's not really true. As far as stereotypes go, because people go, y'all are playing stereotypes. One of the biggest Hollywood directors, and I won't name him, but he's directed lots of movies that you have watched. He and I he was a director I was working with on a script once. And I said, that just feels so stereotypical. And he said to me, you know what, Julia, here's the thing about stereotypes. Stereotypes are stereotypes for a reason, because they're true. And people have this negative connotation about stereotypes, but the truth is they're true. So you have to then figure out how to lean into that stereotype in a way that is not condescending, in a way that is truly loving and celebratory. And that is my goal. And that is what I hope that people feel when they watch my content.
Yeah, and I will say some of the things that I've put on like your memes or your captions, which I think is funny, Julia's like, it's a little mean.
Yeah. I'm always policing mean, because I was getting my hair blown out this morning because, as you do, and I was getting my hair blown out this morning, and I walked into, the blow dry bar. I didn't know who was going to be blowing it out. And I walked in and the girl was like, oh my God, you're the girl from the Southern Women Channel. Like, she went bananas, and it just made my heart sore, because you just never know who you're going to run into. You never know who you're affecting. You never know who you're bringing joy to. You just don't know. And she just talked to me the whole time. She was blowing out my hair. She was the sweetest Southern lady. And she was this country girl from Pickens, South Carolina, which is currently on fire. God bless them. I hope that they get that fire out. But she's from Pickens, and she was just like, I love you because you just tell it like it is. She said, people want to say like, oh, church people don't gossip. She goes, but yes, they do. She said, you never hear better gossip than at the church social. I said, oh, I know. I said, it's just like football, at all the college football games, we pray. Everybody prays. And then the minute that prayer's over, honey, all the cussing lets loose, because everybody's screaming at that football field. There's just this dichotomy that I find so funny about the South. And it's not that people aren't genuine Christians. They are, but they have to talk about things.
Yeah, but they're also human too.
That's right. There's things that need to be prayed about.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you were recognized this morning when you were getting your hair done. And that brings me to a question that we had for you today, which is how does being an online personality impact your life offline? Like, do people recognize you when you go out? How do you handle that? Just out of curiosity, how does that go for you? What's a day in the life out in South Carolina for you?
Yeah, well, it's been interesting that you say that. When I lived in California, people didn't bother me. Nobody cared. People weren't really watching my content. That was not my audience. So I was kind of incognito in LA. I'm a working actress there, but I'm not a movie star. So people, tourists in LA weren't waiting to see me. Although I will say that a couple of times in LA in some fancy restaurants, I've had people come over to the table and be like, I love your videos, and I'll be like, where are you visiting from? And they're always from the South, So it brings me joy. It brings me a lot of joy, because content creation, writing, what I do is very isolating. It's a very isolating experience to sit and write and sit and edit. And I don't always really calculate the fact that I'm bringing people joy. Sometimes I forget that. And to get that feedback really not only, touches my heart in a really major way, but it inspires me to keep creating content. This morning, shout out to Brandy at the Blow Bar in Greenville, South Carolina. She just caught me at the right time this morning. I just was like, kind of not that motivated to do any more content here for a minute because I'm busy with this movie. She was so excited. She was like, when are you doing another video? I want to see another video. I was like, okay, she has motivated me, So I was like, I'm gonna edit another episode for you, Brandy. And I've got some stuff in the can. I'm gonna get one out before the summer, is my goal. And then I had somebody else call me this morning after I came home before I was doing this. And it was, pitching me an idea that maybe I would have been like, I don't know. But I found myself really open to it because I was really inspired to create more content because I realized how much joy I had brought somebody and that the world needs laughter. The world has gone banana pants and, we need laughter. We need something to just de-stress and this kind of bite-sized humor that doesn't require a lot of commitment. As of now, I'm not doing serial storytelling. That's something I'm going to be doing in the future. I'm really interested in that. But, the kind of content I'm making right now is very digestible and requires a really short amount of attention span. So I personally love it. I love when people come up to me in airports. I love when people come up to me in restaurants. It makes me feel validated that what I'm doing matters. My favorite thing, and then I'll wrap this question up. Like I said, we long-winded Southerners, sorry. But my favorite thing is the amount of people that have written me and said, I'm watching your videos as I go through chemo. I have gotten a lot of those sort of emails. A group of women that were doing breast cancer chemo together. One woman was watching my videos and then she got all the women. She goes, we just sit and watch them while we're doing the process of it, There's nothing more heartwarming than that. People have written me and said, my mother's dying in the hospital. And the only thing that makes her laugh is me showing her your videos. I mean, you can't beat that. You can't beat it. And, I just thank God that I've been blessed with a gift and that I'm able to bring that gift to people who are suffering.
Yeah. That's gonna make me emotional.
I know, right? Okay, I have to have a sip of my Yeti.
Okay, so Julia, before we end this episode, I would love to know what's one thing a Southern woman always has in her purse.
Honey, lipstick. Look at here. Look at here. Sitting right next to my computer. I could probably freshen it up right now. We don't leave the house without lipstick.
That is a great tip.
Yes, I know. I need to follow that tip myself.
I always have lipstick. If I have no other makeup on my face, I have lipstick. Always. Our Southern mamas teach us this. They're like, honey, put some color on. Please, God, you look dead. And it's the truth, it is the truth. I mean, we are obsessed with lipstick. And when they discontinue a lipstick, I am very irritated with the companies. I'm very irritated with NARS right now. My favorite coral lipstick has been discontinued. I should do a whole video just about that. And I don't like it when I have lipstick on my teeth. That's another problem. I'm constantly, making sure, because I like to wear, bright colors. You have to constantly check that. We will blend lipsticks. lots of lipsticks, like the combination of the two is my look, there's that. But women are crazy about their lipstick in the South. We do not leave home without it. We got it in our pocket. We got it in our pocketbook. We got it in our husband's pocket. You cannot know how many times my husband's had to take my lipstick with me. Because let's say we're going to a formal event or something, I've got a little purse, and by the time I get my money and my phone and that in there, well, I can't fit the lipstick, but you got to have the lipstick. So he always has that. But yeah, women will understand. Southern women know lipstick, lipstick, lipstick.
Well, Julia, thank you so much again for taking the time to speak with us today. We know you are very, very busy, and you have shared so much information with our listeners, so we really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Julia. Great talking with you. Really enjoyed. You shared so much great information, really from like start to finish of your process, and we really appreciate you being so generous with your time today and sharing this information with us.
Well, honey, I'm just tickled to be with y'all, and I thank you so much for having me, and I hope y'all keep enjoying my videos, and I hope you read my books and enjoy my books, and keep laughing. Keep laughing. It's the only way to get through life.
And speaking of, where can people connect with you online to watch your videos, to read your books?
Oh, yeah. You can find me everywhere at Southern Women Channel. At Southern Women Channel, we're on YouTube, Instagram. Where am I, Kayla? TikTok. I'm at the TikTok. I'm at the Facebook. I'm a big Facebooker because I'm 150 years old. My website, southernwomenchannel.com. You check out my website. You can read. We have great information on all the cast members there. My shop is there. We've got fun Southern merchandise. And you can find my book, Talk Southern to Me and Embrace Your Southern, are both available there, as well as Amazon and anywhere you buy books.
Yeah. And we have your Amazon channel now.
Oh, yes. And we have the Amazon store that I'm still trying to learn how to do. Sorry, Amazon. I'm working on it.
Well, thank you so much, Julia, for joining us today. Southern Women Channel. Check out their videos. They're hilarious. And if you need a good laugh like we all do, check it out. I'm Lindsay Mauk.
I'm Kayla Pearlstein.
And we're out.
See ya.
Peace.